For instance, I was reading this, Arctic Dreams by Barry Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
And it was interesting to me as I was reading it. I think this has a few arguments for it, but it was kind of like a lesser Lauren Isley book. And you appreciate Lauren Isley more as you read through this book because Lauren Isley has better and larger building blocks in which to compose his stuff. He can get to a bit of wisdom at the turn of a sentence, whereas Barry Lopez, for whatever reason, he needs a whole paragraph to detail something, and then he gets towards the deeper insights. So it was very instructive to read, and I think that Valley of Red Shadows, even if it was of a lesser quality to say Super 7, you can read that book and realize that the level in terms of its own greatness might give a writer an in.
Well, Barry Lopez is interesting. I remember trying to get him to do my written interviews about a decade ago, and he was one of these people, even back then, who didn't have his own email. I had to go through his publisher and his agent, and he sent me a letter or a postcard or something that said thank you, but he didn't want to do it or whatnot. But yeah, he's someone who I would say is, I mean, he's a good, solid writer. But yeah, there's no doubt he's not in a class with Lauren Isley. Lauren Isley, for science writing, there's Lauren Isley, and then there's number 2. You know, you could argue Stephen Jay Gould or Carl Sagan, a few other people like Barry Lopez, nature writers. Even though he was personally an asshole, Edward Hoagland was a good science writer too. Yeah, Lauren Isley is a cut above everyone else, and so. But
and it's interesting when we're speaking about overlooked writers and books. He seems to be one of the best examples of someone who's never really gotten his due. Perhaps he got a little bit of due in his own time, but he doesn't seem to have gotten it afterwards.
What do you mean, Isley?
He's seen more as just a scientist than he is as a writer. And even though that may be what he was in his own life, he's certainly someone whose best abilities was in words.
Well, this is the import of great writers or great artists championing other great artists. You know, I mean, I've talked about George Dickerson. I've talked about James Emanuel. I've talked about Lauren Isley. In Nebraska, you've got Lauren Isley, John G. Neihart, Weldon Keys, James Emanuel, Willa Cather. You've got like 5 writers there who are probably amongst the top 25 American writers, published at least, of all time. And I remember I was telling this to some guy in an email that I wanted to do, maybe it was the Isley show or the James Emanuel show, and he said, well, you forgot to mention Ted Kooser or something like that. I'm like, no, I didn't. Ted Kooser's not in a league. I mean, most people don't even have an ability to see that there's a qualitative difference between Weldon Keys and Ted Kooser, and it's like these people just want to throw up the people that they like and whatnot, and I get so sick and tired of it. You know, I was just mentioning before, I wanted to do a Dan Schneider video interview on Robert Frost. I'm going to have to wait a year or two. I contacted 15 or 20 people, had only one guy who wanted to talk, and then he bailed out.